Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we are in chapter Canto 1, chapter 18. Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. So we know the sages in Naimisharanya, they assembled to perform 1,000-year prolonged sacrifice. That is where they met Sutta Goswami. And then they asked these 6 questions to him. In response to their question, the first question was, what is the ultimate good for all people, especially in this age of Kali? So they wanted to know the Shreya. Then Srila Sutta Goswami said, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma Jata Bhakti Radakshade. Means focusing one's mind on the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God, Godhead, chanting His holy name and hearing about Him is the ultimate goal of human life. Then he explained how hearing Bhagavatam can bring one to the platform of attaining love of God. And then he said, I am going to speak to you the Bhagavatam which I have heard from Sukadeva Goswami, who spoke it to Maharaj Parikshit on the bank of Ganga. So then they asked this question. Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world. Why he gave up his position as a king, renounced his kingly order, and sat on the bank of Ganga to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, and where this Bhagavatam was spoken, when it was spoken, and all these things we have heard. And then they also discuss about Maharaj Parikshit. So in this way, because they had asked the question concerning Maharaj Parikshit, Srila Sutta Goswami, he explained how Parikshit was saved in the womb of Uttara, and after that, Parikshit, he was installed in the throne of Hastinapur. And then after that, when Pandavas, they came to know that Krishna is no more, so then they quit this world. And after that, when Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the kingdom, once he met this bull and cow, who are the religion personified and dharma personified respectively. And there he met with the personality of Kali, who was hurting the leg of the bull. So then he understood that he is the Kali personified, but understanding the good quality of this age of Kali, he did not banish him. He also gave him shelter in his kingdom. So in that way, so after that, in this way, Sutta Goswami, he actually quickly wanted to complete the narration, because sometimes the speaker, he tests the patience of the listeners, whether they are eagerly interested to hear the further narration or not. So then when Sutta Goswami, he concluded this very quickly, but the sages in Naimisharanya, they said, oh, may you, oh Sutta, may you live for thousands of years. Because they were releasing so much the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam from the lips of Sutta Goswami, they didn't want him to stop. So in that way, as they further requested Sutta Goswami to speak that Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuranam, which was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit by Srila Sutta Goswami. They said, text number 17, Tannaha param punyamasamritartham akhyanamatyaduta yoganishtam akyayananta charitopapannam parikshitam bhagavatabhiramam. So they wanted to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that Bhagavatam? Parikshitam Bhagavatabhiramam. That Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit. And what is the characteristics of that Bhagavatam, which was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit? Bhagavatabhiramam. It was very dear to the pure devotees of the Lord. So they wanted to hear that Srimad Bhagavatam. And they are saying, Tanna Param. So there is no other scripture which is beyond or which is supreme. Why? Punya, punyam, sattva sodhakam. It can purify one's existence, one's mind can be purified upon hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. Asamritartham means there is nothing, the narration about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not concealed in this narration. Therefore, Akhyanam Adbhuta Yoganishtam. This is a very wonderful book which is discussing about Dharma, Jnana and Bhakti. So this is Adbhuta Yoganishtam Akhyayananta Charitopapannam. This is also another interesting characteristics of this Srimad Bhagavatam, which was narrated to Maharaj Parikshit, that Ananta Charitopapannam means it is this Srimad Bhagavatam is full of the narration about Ananta, the unlimited Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we want to hear from you this Srimad Bhagavatam. So as the sages in Naimisharanya, they expressed their earnest desire to hear Srimad Bhagavatam further from Maharaj Srila Sutta Goswami. Therefore, Srila Sutta Goswami, in the first two verses, text number 18 and 19, he is appreciating his good fortune. That's why he says, Sutta Vacha Oho Vayam Janma Vitodyashasma Vriddhanuvrityapi Viloma Jataha Dauskulyamadhim Vidhunoti Shighram Mahottamanam Abhidhana Yoga. Sutta Goswami said, Oho Vayam Janma Vritadhyahasma. He is saying, Vayam means sometimes, even though it is Ekavachana, Sutta Goswami is one, but about him, he is speaking Vayam, means actually he is very happy that Janma Vrita Adya Hasma Vruddhan Vrityapi Viloma Jata. He is saying, even though I am born in a mixed caste, that means there is mental agonies. When somebody is born in a lower caste family, they feel other people who are born in higher caste, they don't see them with good eyes. Therefore, they always feel, there is agony, mental agony. So, Srila Sutta Goswami is saying that even though I was born in a mixed caste, lower caste, but Vriddhanuvrityapi, Doskulyam Adhim Vidhunoti Shikhram. He is saying that this Doskulyam Adhi means Manobhyatha, as we say, mental agony. Why? Because it is said as Doskulyam. Doskulyam means, Srila Prabhupada, he translates disqualification of birth. Here, Viloma is, father is from, anyway, it's a mixed caste, lower caste. So even though he is born in a low caste family, but that Dauskulyam Adhi, that, oh, why I am born in such a lower family, that dejection is eradicated. How vidhunati? Vriddhanuvritya. Here, Vriddhanuvritya means one is somebody who is very much advanced in spiritual knowledge, who, and that person, when he gives his audience to somebody who is born in a low class family. So in this case of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he got the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Maharaj Srila Sukadeva Goswami. So in that way, Srila Sukadeva Goswami did not refuse Sutta Goswami to receive this transcendental science, even though he was born in a low class family. And another thing, Buddhanuvritya means, the sages in Naimisharanya, they were asking Sutta Goswami, who was born in a low family, to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to them. So therefore, below Majjata, even though he was born in a low class family, Doskulyamadhi vidhunati shikra. Bhav Mahattamanam Abhidhana Yoga. It is said that we have also seen in our personal life that when somebody who is born in a low class family, when they are addressed by people who are born in high family, those people, they feel very much happy just to get the opportunity to talk to people who are born in high family. Even if people who are born in high family, they call them by their name, or they speak to them about their well-being, even though it is material subject matter, but still these people who are born in low family, they feel very much happy. So now you can imagine Sutta Goswami, who was born in a low family. First of all, he got the opportunity to read, to hear this transcendental science from the lips of Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And again, he is being asked by the sages of Naimisharanya to speak to them about the same. That means, what a good fortune. So this is how he is actually appreciating his good fortune. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted to in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge." That means serving and following Srila Sukadeva Goswami, serving the sages in Naimisharanya. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of the disqualifications resulting from lower births. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, Sutta Goswami did not take his birth in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Sukadeva Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly the disqualification of inferior birth was washed off. And in the same line, in this connection, Srila Prabhupada comments that even though Srila Sutta Goswami was born in a low-class family, but Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami did not refuse to teach this transcendental science to Sutta Goswami. Therefore, Prabhupada says, this means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendental science because of inferior birth. The rigidity of so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent within only 100 years or so when the number of Dvija Bandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher castes increased. Lord Sri Chaitanya received the original Vedic system and he elevated Thakur Haridas to the position of Namacharya or the authority in preaching the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Although His Holiness Srila Haridas Thakur was pleased to appear in a family of Mohammedans. Such is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. The Ganges water is accepted as pure, and one can become purified after taking a bath in the waters of the Ganges. But as far as the great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by the lawworm. And what to speak of association? Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of the polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over the world. And it remains with the Indians to take up this task scientifically and thus do the best kind of humanitarian work. The mental diseases of the present generation are more acute than bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take off the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world without delay. So in the Prabhupada is explaining so nicely that those who are qualified, they should be given opportunity to learn the science of Srimad Bhagavatam. And once one has understood this science, then without delay, he should go out and distribute the same because whole world needs this. Prabhupada is saying the mental disease is more acute than the body diseases. That means to cure the mental diseases of the current human civilization, knowledge of Bhagavatam is the greatest medicine to cure such mental illness. So those who are in this Krishna consciousness movement, therefore Prabhupada requests everybody to take up this mission and go out, distribute this message to one and all. So in the next verse, then again he continues his good fortune that, well, not only I was fortunate enough to get the association of Sutta Goswami and the sages in Naimisharanya, but now again I am being asked to speak, glorify our Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one chants the holy name of the Lord, he automatically becomes washed off all the imperfections of the lower birth. So therefore he is saying, Kutaha punarvrinata nama tasya mahattamaikanta parayanasya jonanta shakti bhagavanananto mahad gunatvad jamanantamahu jam anantam ahu ananta nama tasya punarvrinata. He is saying, what to speak of being in the association of the great souls? Means, just by being in the association of great souls, one becomes automatically purified, washed off the disqualifications of lower births. Now, what to speak of that person if he gets the opportunity to glorify the name of the Supreme Lord? Putah puna granato nama tasya. Tasya means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahattamaikanta parayanasya. Because actually this Mahattamaikanta parayanasya means the good qualities of the Supreme Lord become manifest in such elevated souls. Jo ananta shaktir Bhagavan ananta. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has unlimited potencies, Ananta Shakti. And Bhagavan, that Supreme Lord, is Ananta. Means here the mood is, our acharyas they explain that before he was saying Dauskulyam Adi, he was born in a low class family Therefore, there are some mental agony. But our acharyas are saying this, Dauskulya means one who is born in the law family means, some people say, this is the result of sin from their past. That means that is prarabdha. That is the result of prarabdha. So, according to some, they say, Srila Krishna Chakravarti Thakur is explaining, Nanu, Dauskulyarambhakam papam prarabdha eva. So that means one who is born in a low class family, that means this is the result of his prarabdha karma. Tasya nasam bina katham doskulyam kulya dhunanam. That means without somebody becoming freed from this lower birth, how can he become freed from the disqualifications that result from the lower birth? Prarabdhasya tu bhoge naiva nasveti prasiddha. Means without going through the sufferings of the prarabdha, one cannot become free from the reactions of prarabdha. Namata. Katham khandayita iti aha. So then how this prarabdha is destroyed? Therefore saying, Jo Bhagavan Ananta Shakti iti. Means Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he possesses unlimited potencies. Shaktinam Anantyad Bhaktyarabdha, Shaktinam Anantyad Bhakto Prarabdha Prabdhanashinyapi Kachit Shakti Asti Eva iti Bhava. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying, because Lord has unlimited potency, so that means there is one potency to eradicate the prarabdha of his devotees. Tathacha mahatsu swabhaktesu guna jasya so mahat gunastasya bhagavatatvam. That means actually mahatmaikanta parayanasya. He is explaining that Lord can infuse his potency into those who are great souls, the devotees. Tasmad jam ananta ahu iti, because he is ananta. That's why he can do these things. So here the point is, Srila Sutta Goswami is saying that simply by chanting the name of the Lord, one can become purified. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying in the purport, the Dvija Bandhu, or the less intelligent, uncultured man born of higher castes, put forward many arguments against the lower caste men becoming Brahmanas in this life. Especially when Prabhupada started this organization, some people from India, they were criticizing Prabhupada that how can you make people born in low class family Brahmana? So Prabhupada is saying, they argue that birth in a family of Shudra or less than Shudras is made possible by one's previous sinful acts. Means one who has committed sinful activity, that is the result of taking birth in low class family. And that one therefore has to complete the terms of disadvantages due to the lower birth. That means they have to give up that body. Then only they can become Brahmana. That is their argument. And to answer these false logicians, Srimad Bhagavatam asserts that one who chants the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee can at once get free from the disadvantages due to a lower caste birth. Why? Because a pure devotee of the Lord is free from sin. They are completely pure. Therefore, they have the qualities of the Lord in them. Therefore, they have the quality to purify even a person who is born in a low class family. So, therefore, Prabhupada is saying, Srimad Bhagavatam asserts that one who chants the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee, Here, chanting holy name of the Lord or just listening, hearing, studying Bhagavatam also, everything is kind of, you can understand like that. Can at once get free from the disadvantages due to a lower caste birth. A pure devotee of the Lord does not commit any offense while chanting the holy name of the Lord. There are 10 offenses. He continues. Offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord is transcendental, and therefore such chanting can at once purify one from the effects of all kinds of previous sins. So that means this offenseless chanting indicates that one has fully understood the transcendental nature of the holy name and has thus surrendered unto the Lord. Transcendentally, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical, being absolute. Then he continues, since his name and he himself are identical, the holy name of the Lord can protect the devotee from all effects of sins. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord can undoubtedly deliver one from the disadvantages of a lower caste birth. The Lord's unlimited power is extended on and on by the unlimited expansion of the devotees and incarnations. And thus, every devotee of the Lord and incarnation also can be equally surcharged with the potency of the Lord. That means those who are pure, they also gain, Lord extends his potencies through such pure devotees to give mercy to people who are disqualified because of the lower birth. So in that way, anyone who takes shelter of a pure devotee to the Lord, automatically he is purified of his material contaminations or disqualifications resulting from the lower birth. So therefore, he is saying that his mood is, first of all, I got the opportunity to associate with Sukadeva Gosvami and suggested Naimisharanya. Secondly, I am getting opportunity to glorify the Lord in that assembly of the sages in Naimisharanya. That means I'll be chanting Krishna's name. So what a good fortune for me. Just imagine, people who don't understand this tattva, they unnecessarily quarrel, fight, and they find fault with others. So our mood should be just simply, we should ourselves qualify ourselves by chanting the holy name, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, doing deity worship, honoring Mahaprasadam every day regularly. And then we are in constant touch with the fire of Krishna consciousness, which will automatically uplift us from the disqualifications of, even if we have attained a low birth in this world. So, this is a very important point. Then he continues, Etavatalam nanasuchitena gunairasamyanatisayanasya hitveteran prarthayato vibhutir jasyang dhirenum jusotena vipso. Etavatalam nanu suchitena gunairasamya natisaya samyan ati sayanasya hitpetaran prarthayato vibhuti. You see, here the unlimited potency and transcendental attributes of the Lord is being narrated. Lord is awesome, right? Nobody is equal to or greater than him. So in that way, here he is saying that this Vibhuti is Lakshmi here. This Lakshmi Devi, who does not go to his worshippers, but she is always inclined to stay at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Jasyangriano Jusote Avipso. She is always inclined to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And Irtran Prarthayato, he is saying that here Irtran means demigods like Lord Brahma and Shiva. You can see next verse will be speaking about Lord Shiva. Even though Lord Brahma and Shiva, they are Lord has nothing to do with these people even. But still, Lakshmi Devi, she is very much inclined to stay in touch with the Supreme Lord. So I am going to speak about him. It is now ascertained that he, the Supreme, the personality of Godhead, is unlimited and there is none equal to him. Consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. Great demigods can obtain the favor of the demigods of fortune even by prayers, but this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although he is unwilling to have such service. That means that here she is glorifying the Krishna, that even though Krishna doesn't want Lakshmi Devi's service, but still she is always eager to serve him. Even though Lakshmi Devi is desired by others, still she doesn't go to them, but still she goes to Krishna. Prabhupada writes in the purport, verse number 20, we are in verse number 20, Prabhu. The personality of Godhead or the Parameshwara, Param Brahma, according to the Shrutis, has nothing to do. He has no equal, nor does anyone excel him. He has unlimited potencies and his every action is carried out systematically in his natural and perfect ways. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full in himself, and he has nothing to accept from anyone else, including the great demigods like Brahma. Okay? Others ask for the favor of the goddess of fortune, and despite such prayers, she declines to award such favors, but still she renders service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he has nothing to accept from her. Then he says, Athapi jatpada nakhava prishtam jagad birinchi pahutar hana sheshan soisam, means with Shiva. Punatyanyatamo mukundat ko nama loke bhagavat padartha. That means this Mukunda, who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord by the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a powerful welcome. This very water is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. See, Athapi Jatpada Nakhava Prishtam. Ganga Devi is flowing from the toenails of the Supreme Lord. And Jagat Birincho Utar Hanamba. This Birinchi, Brahma, he collected that water and he worships the Supreme Lord. And Sesam Punatyanam Tamo Mukundat. And that means he is saying that Supreme Lord who is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva, he is no other than Mukunda. He is actually Mukunda. Means he can give deliverance only. Ko nama loke Bhagavad Padartha. That means who can be the Supreme Lord except Krishna, who is Mukunda. That means there is no one else as the Supreme Lord except Krishna is Mukunda. So Brahmaji collected water, Shiva worshipful. This very water is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda to be actually called the Supreme Personality of God? Therefore, Prabhupada continues in his purport that there are bona fide sampradaya. He says there are four sects of worshipful devotees of the Lord, and the chief amongst them are the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Sri Sampradaya, descending directly from Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, respectively. Besides the above mentioned three Sampradaya, there is the Kumar Sampradaya, descending from Sanat Kumar. All of these four original Sampradayas are still scrupulously engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord up to date. And they all declare that Lord Krishna, Mukunda, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no other personality is equal to him or better than him. So here, Srila Sutta Goswami is saying, he's giving a very nice message to people who think Lakshmi Devi is God, or Brahma is God, Shiva is God. So he is saying only Krishna is God because he is Mukunda. And his lotus feet is being served by all these Lakshmi, Shiva, and Brahma. Jatranurakta sahasaiva dhira vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham brajanti tatparamaham shamantyam jasmin nahimso prasamas swadharmaha. Jatranurakta sahasaiva dhira. Dhira means self-control. Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential. That means here again, he is glorifying the Supreme Personality of Lord Krishna. That anyone who comes in contact with Krishna, it becomes very easy for them to renounce this world. Means they automatically lose their attraction for the objects of this world. They don't have any material attachment. Prabhupada writes, I'll read. Only the self-controlled can gradually be attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Self-controlled means not indulging in sense enjoyment more than is necessary. And those who are not self-controlled are given over to sense enjoyment. Dry philosophical speculation is a subtle sense enjoyment of the mind. Sense enjoyment leads one to the path of darkness. Those who are self-controlled can make progress on the path of liberation from the conditioned life of material existence. The Vedas therefore enjoin that one should not go on the path of darkness, but should make a progressive march towards the path of light or liberation. Self-control is actually achieved not by artificially stopping the senses from material enjoyment, but by becoming factually attached to the Supreme Lord by engaging one's unalloyed senses in the transcendental service of the Lord. The senses cannot be forcibly curbed, but they can be given proper engagement. Purified senses, therefore, are always engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This perfectional stage of sense enjoyment engagement is called Bhakti Yoga. So, those who are attached to the means of Bhakti Yoga are factually self-controlled and can all of a sudden give up their homely or bodily attachment for the service of the Lord. This is called the Paramahamsa stage. Hamsas or swans accept only milk out of the water, out of a water of milk and water, out of a mixture of milk and water. Similarly, those who accept the service of the Lord instead of Maya's service are called the Paramahamsas. So that means the secret of success is always we have to engage our bodily limbs in the service of the Lord. That will automatically bring one to the stage of Paramahamsa. That means when one is engaged in devotional service, means he is engaging his senses in service of the Lord, that process will automatically qualify. This is the point. What is our Swadharma? Our Swadharma is to serve the Lord. That is our Swadharma. Aham hi prishtoriyamano bhavadhi achakshva atma bhagamotra javan namah patantyatma samam patatrina statha samam vishnu gatim vipaschita. Those who are learned, they speak. So here what he is saying is, after glorifying his good fortune, then after thoroughly meditating on the qualities of the personality of Godhead, where we heard how Sutta Goswami is saying that Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, even Lakshmi Devi, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord. And he is the actually Mukunda, who is qualified to give liberation, that's Krishna. So then he is saying, now I am going to, whatever question you have asked to me, certainly I am going to speak about the Supreme Lord, but how I am going to do? He is saying, Namah patatyatma samam patatrinam. Patatrinam, pakshi, the birds, they fly in the sky according to their individual capacity. Sky is unlimited, but they cannot fly through the entire sky. Similarly, those who are learned, they also speak about the Lord according to their capacity. That means he is not proud of himself. He is saying, I will speak according to my capacity. O rishis, who are as powerfully pure as the sun, glorifying the sages in Naimisharanya. I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge is concerned. How he is giving an example. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. Purport. The supreme absolute truth is unlimited. No living being can know about the unlimited by his limited capacity. The Lord is impersonal, personal, and localized. By his impersonal feature, he is all-pervading Brahman. By his localized feature, he is present in everyone's heart as the supreme soul, and by his unlimited, ultimate personal feature, he is the object of transcendental loving service by his fortunate associates, the pure devotees. So in that way, Lord is known in three features. In his personality form, he is worshipped by his pure devotees. As localized, he is present in everyone's heart as a personal, and as impersonal, in his impersonal feature, he is all-pervading Brahman. The pastimes of the Lord is different features. The pastimes of the Lord in different features can only be estimated partly by the great learned devotees. So, Srila Sutta Goswami has rightly taken this position in describing the pastimes of the Lord as far as he has realized. Factually, only the Lord himself can describe himself. And his learned devotee also can describe him as far as the Lord gives him the power of description. Means devotees, they describe about the Lord, they should never feel that they are describing on their own capacity. No, as they are favored by the Supreme Lord. And also sometimes we can say that Lord's favor is coming to the devotee through the blessing of the spiritual master. As Guru blesses the devotee, the disciple can speak about the Lord. This is the secret. Huh? So now he said, I'm going to describe about the Lord as far as my realization go. So now he is going to start the narration. Ekada dhanurudhyamya vicharan mrugayam vane mrigananugata santa kshudita strushito bhisham. So once upon a time, this Maharaj Parikshit Nripa Ekada dhanudhyamya vicharan. He went for Mrigaya, for a hunting excursion. And then, while he was in the forest, Mrigan Anugataha. Sometimes when they're in hunting, they have to chase a deer. So he was chasing the deer. Then, as a result, Santa. Santa means he was tired. He became fatigued. And Khudita. He felt very hungry. And Strusito. He was also having thirst, hunger, thirst, and he was very tired. At that time, what happened? Jalasayam achakshana. He was searching after the reservoir of water. And then at that time, Prabhu Tamasramam, he saw an ashrama of the Rishi. And he entered the Samik Rishi's ashram. Dadarsa Muni Masinam. When he entered the ashram, he saw the Muni, the Rishi, was sitting. How? Santam Mili Talochanam. He was very calm and silent. Means the Rishi was on meditation. So his eyes were closed and he was sitting silently. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty, while following the stag. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Samik Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. Prabhupada writes, the Supreme Lord is so kind to his pure devotees that in proper time he calls such devotees up to him and thus creates an auspicious circumstance for the devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee of the Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty, because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of the Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty, just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation of worldly activities. See, such a sweet purport Prabhupada is giving. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference. The Supreme Lord never forgets his pure devotee, even though he may be engaged in so-called worldly affairs. Sometimes he creates an awkward situation and the devotee becomes obliged to renounce all worldly affairs. The devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to be unfavorable and frustrating. Maharaj Parikshit was to become the medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Sri Krishna. So you can say Maharaj Parikshit was such a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. For him to become perturbed by the demands of the body is definitely unbecoming. But still, it so happened because it was the desire of the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying, Lord wanted Maharaj Parikshit to become the medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should not try to see Maharaj Parikshit becoming thirsty, hungry, and fatigued is on the material plane. Then what happened at that time when he saw the saint was silently sitting with closed eyes, Pratiruddhendriya pranam mano buddhi muparamat. What was this position of the sage? Pratiruddhendriya means he had already controlled, he had already withdrawn his senses from the sense objects. That means there is no material engagement for his senses. Indriyo prana, his life air, and mano, his mind, buddhi, intelligence, everything he had withdrawn from the material engagements. Then sthana prayat param praptam means he had already transcended these three stages of life. What are the three stages? Wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, which is called Jagrata, Swapna, and Susupti. This is what we experience every day, right? Now we are in Jagrata, we are in wakefulness condition. And sometimes when you go to sleep, then that is a dreaming stage, right? Sometimes we dream. Then when you go on deep sleep, that is Susupti, unconsciousness. You forget everything in the Susupti, stage of Susupti. So these are the three stages. But the Rishi, he was in trance, he had already transcended these three stages, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. It appears that the Muni in which Hermitage, the king, entered was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of jnana or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga or factual realization of trance by manipulation of the psychological and physiological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga or the engagement of the senses in the devotional service of the Lord. So you can imagine, Prabhupada is explaining how one can attain this transcendental position. Means we can go beyond this Jagrata, Swapna, and Susupti. Through the process of jnana, through the process of Ashtanga Yoga, and through the process of devotional service, which we are in. we have accepted devotional service. So that means if you simply practice devotional service, not the jnana process, then Prabhupada describes the jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul. That's why that's a mechanical process. But Bhakti Yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. Therefore, my dear devotee, when we take up devotional service and we don't engage our senses in some activity, some active engagement has to be there. If it is not there, then that is not devotional service. Try to understand this. Anusilanam. Krishna Anusilanam. That is Bhakti Uttama. Uttama Bhakti means active engagement. Every day you should do some service with your hand, okay? With your body. Don't just only eat prasadam. That is also a service. You can do only one active service, that is honoring Mahaprasadam. As you eat, similarly, you also work for him. Otherwise, Krishna is not going to be happy with you. Okay? Don't take up only one active service to keep your tongue active. And this was the inner condition of the sage. Now he is describing about his external condition. What was the external condition? Viprakirna jatachandam rauravena jinena cha vishusya taludakam tatha bhuta maya chata. So at that time, the sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. You can see a sage who is sitting in trance, there is no consciousness. He is already in the transcendental platform, beyond his Jagrata, Swapna and Sushupti, and he has a long matted hair scattered, and up to his chest he is covered with deer skin. And the king is asking him water. What is this? Again, Prabhupada is speaking, this is the will of the Lord. The king, being thirsty, asked the sage for water. That such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Otherwise, there is no chance of such a unique happening. Maharaj Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam can be revealed. You see, why Prabhupada is speaking this is providential. In text number 28, if you say, alabdha trina bhumyadi rasa asampraptyarya sunritaha abhagyata mivatmanam manyamana shchukopaha. You see, for a king like Maharaj Parikshit to become angry because that person did not welcome him properly. What is this? This was purely a mercy on Maharaj Parikshit of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why we say this was a mercy? Because he has said in the next chapter, just Tasyaiva me naghasya paravaresha Vesakta Chittasya Griheswa Bhikshnam. He is saying Paravaresha, this is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. This is the Supreme Personality of God, controller of both the transcendental and mundane world, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. That means Maharaj Parikshit also, he knows that was the grace of the Lord upon him. So, nobody should mistakenly think that Maharaj Parikshit was on the mundane platform. The king not received any formal welcome. Alabdha, how? He didn't receive. What did he receive? Here it is said that when a guest comes to even an enemy's house, he should be received very nicely. He should be welcomed very nicely. So Prabhupada is saying when in the purport, Bhima and Arjuna they came to Jarasandha, where Bhima was supposed to fight with Jarasandha, but Jarasandha gave him a very grand reception. Huh? So here the king has come, means you're supposed to give him arghya and other articles to greet him nicely. But he was not even told a sweet words. What to speak of that? Even he was not asked to even sit on the land. So the point is, when a guest comes to our house, we should give them an asana to sit on. Then you give a glass of water and you exchange some sweet words. If they are your guru or very highly elevated, then you can even give them a garland, arghya, madhuparka, even sweet drinks. Madhuparka is sweet drinks. Okay. But because he was not received in due manner, therefore, abhagyata mivatmana, manyamana. He thought of that was a disrespect to him. Why did he not respect me? Okay. And Chukopaha, he became very angry. The law of reception in the codes of the Vedic principles states that even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respects. Then Prabhupada goes on describing about how Jarasandha received his enemy with grand reception. So, therefore, Prabhupada is saying, to become angry, Maharaj Parikshit was not received well, that's why he became angry. No, Prabhupada is saying, in the purport, to become angry in such a grave situation was not unnatural for the king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, he is becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by the supreme will of the Lord. The merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward position for his pure devotees in order to drag them toward himself from the mire of material existence. Why are you rotting in this world? Come to me. That is the indication. But outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord, and in any condition, frustration or success, the Lord is the supreme guide for the devotees. The pure devotees therefore accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. Wow, this is very, 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 very high dose medicine. Right? I don't know who is qualified to take this medicine. He is creating a situation to frustrate you and you have to take it as his blessings. Huh? Who wants blessing to hold fire in his hand? If somebody is going to give, hold fire, I'm giving you blessing. If you say, okay, I'm giving you blessing, take Rasgulla. Huh? You will immediately take it. Will not consider who has cooked it, whether it is offered to the Lord or not. Huh? This is how you take the blessing. Huh? So Lord's blessing sometimes can be in form of asking you to sit next to fire in the summer season. Okay? That is the blessing. Ahuta purva sahasa kutrabhyam arditatmana brahmanam pratyabhut brahman matsuro manyurevacha. O Brahmanas, the king's anger and envy directed toward the Brahmanas' heads were unprecedented, being that circumstances had made him hungry and thirsty. Prabhupada writes, for a king like Maharaj Parikshit to become angry and envious, especially at a sage and Brahmana, was undoubtedly unprecedented. The king knew well that Brahmanas, sages, children, women, and old men are always beyond the jurisdiction of punishment. Similarly, the king, even though he commits a great mistake, is never to be considered a wrongdoer. But in this case, Maharaj Parikshit became angry and envious at the sage due to his thirst and hunger by the will of the Lord. The king was right to punish his subject for coldly receiving him or neglecting him. But because the culprit was a sage and a Brahmana, it was unprecedented. As the Lord is never envious of anyone, so also the Lord's devotee is never envious of anyone. The only justification for Maharaj Parikshit's behavior is that it was ordained by the Lord. So many ways Prabhupada is kind of justifying. He is giving the nice narration that it was the will of the Lord. Sotu Brahma Risheranse Gatashu Muragam Rusha Binirgachantanuskam Tya Kotya Nidhaya Puramagatah. While leaving the king, being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace. Wow. Can you imagine a person like Maharaj Parikshit could do this? If it is not the will of the Lord, how is it possible? Who was saved by the same Lord in the womb of the Uttara. Lord is Namo Brahmano Devaya. How can Maharaj Parikshit do this? The king thus treated the sage tit for tat. Although he was never accustomed to such silly actions. But the will of the Lord, the king while going away, by the will of the Lord, the king while going away found a dead snake in front of him, and he thought that the sage who had coldly received him thus might be coldly rewarded by being offered a garland of a dead snake. In the ordinary course of dealing, this was not very unnatural. But in the case of Maharaj Parikshit's dealing with a Brahmana sage, this was certainly unprecedented. It so happened by the will of the Lord. Okay? So, we will conclude our session here today, and Krishna willing, we will complete our chapter 18 in the next class. Then we will start chapter 19. Let's see how quickly we can complete it in chapter 19. Let us all pray to the Supreme Lord for his guidance. Okay, so now if you have any question, we have gone a little beyond time today. I hope it is okay for you as we were discussing last time. So now I think we can take some questions or comments from you. Okay. Sahadev Prabhuji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Sometimes when you hear Sri Prabhupada's purpose, you don't know whether you have to hide your head somewhere because some of the purposes are very heavy, and
Very heavy.
You begin to ask yourself, can I actually do this? A point in question is about the law of reception.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about Garasanda and Bhima. They're going to fight, but they were still relating with each other beautifully.
Yeah.
Especially like in my country where I live now, everybody's suspicious of everybody. You know, up to the point that if somebody is visiting you, you have to look through the the glass to know who is there before you will even open the door. So
if one day I come to your house, maybe you will not open the door.
I mean, it is said that you should receive anybody and everybody, but some people are just out there to get you. So I don't know.
No, we have discussed this before. Listen. We have discussed this before. According to time, place, and circumstance, some adjustment needs to be done. Now, see, we understand the situation is different. Okay, we are living in Kali Yuga. Okay, we are not living in any other yuga. And even though this is a narration given to teach us the culture that we practice, so we can practice this culture amongst the devotee circle. And not that, yeah, some places you don't know that person, what is his intention, maybe he's coming to attack us. So we cannot just, be so foolish. In the name of Vedic culture, if you just do it, some intelligence has to be applied by the devotees. We know how to deal with the situation. This is very simple.
Yeah. Well, Prabhuji, thank you for the answer. I know Shailesh Prabhu has his hand up, but there is this question we've been having on another platform, and I thought I would ask you to find out from you what you also know about it, and that is there is this notion that because the pure devotee is not an ordinary human being, which we all accept, that the pure devotee does not suffer. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The pure devotee does not feel pain. And my little understanding is that the pure devotee may feel pain, but they do not go through pain as ordinary human beings do. And my concern is if devotees begin to think that the pure devotees do not feel pain, then how are we going to live our lives in such a way that we do not commit sinful things or sinful actions, which according to the scripture says that when the spiritual master checks the karma of the disciple, especially at the time of initiation. So I just want you to shed a little bit light on whether the pure devotees, they suffer, but they do not go through suffering as ordinary conditioned souls, or the pure devotees at no point in time ever have any pain or suffering. Hare Krishna.
Both are true for a pure devotee. They may not go through the suffering as a conditioned soul undergo some suffering, okay? And at the same time, a pure devotee by the will of the Lord, they don't at all experience any pain of suffering. The example is when Haridas Thakur was being beaten in 22 marketplaces, he did not experience any pain. And then when he met with Lord Chaitanya showed his back. Who took those beatings? Mahaprabhu took those beatings in his back. So Haridas Thakur was totally rescued from the beating, and he didn't experience any pain because of the Supreme Lord, Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by the will of the Lord, sometimes to teach us, they may also make a show as if they are undergoing through some pain, or to kind of give an opportunity to the blasphemers to commit more offenses. Krishna may sometimes put a pure devotee in a situation where a non-devotee may create more difficulties for himself because of his offensive attitude. So Krishna may allow such people to get their reactions by seeing a pure devotee, apparently speaking, are suffering. And their suffering is definitely not on the platform of the suffering of a conditioned soul.
Yeah.
Krishna can do anything. And pure devotees, whether they are suffering or not suffering, that is not a concern. They are always Krishna conscious. That is the main thing we need to see in this connection. Krishna can use the devotee in any way he wants. Maravi rakhavi jo ichha. Times, a pure grihastha, okay, a pure devotee of the Lord who is a grihastha, maybe his son is in a suffering. Do you think he will not feel pain? He will, of course. So what? That is momentarily. That may happen to him. But anyway, that is not a big thing for him also at the same time. So these are all circumstantial to teach us. Lord uses his pure devotee to teach us the lesson. But the main thing, the qualification of a pure devotee of the Lord is they are 24 hours, 100% Krishna conscious. The law of the material world sometimes may looks like affecting them, but it is not actually as it affects to a conditioned soul. We cannot understand a pure devotee. We cannot understand. We cannot understand a pure devotee.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Silas Prabhu?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanava Prabhupada. Thank you for a wonderful class. I have a couple of questions. First one, on text 20, we read, it says in the translation that great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune, even by prayer. But even this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although he is unwilling to have such service. So my question is, it says here, although the Lord is unwilling to have such service, is he unwilling because he doesn't need it, or is because I presume he's always willing to take service from his pure devotees? So
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it, but he's willing to take it, no?
Yes, yes.
So I was just perplexed here. It says, although he's unwilling, he doesn't say he doesn't need it. It says unwilling to have such service.
In that sense, Krishna will take service from only Radharani, no? Lakshmi Devi is the expansion of Srimati Radharani. And in form of Narayan, he will definitely take service from Lakshmi Devi. But here, the greatness of the Supreme Lord has been, that's we say, his Lord is Asamordha, in the preparation, nor does anyone excel him. He has no equal. So that is the point here trying to establish. But at the same time, we understand he is, this is Achintya Vedagata Tattva. That's why you should know where to speak what. When you give class, you need to know where to speak what. In this connection, here the Lord is so great, he doesn't need even Lakshmi Devi. He doesn't want his service even. Because he's full, he's complete. That is the message he's giving.
Just an observation, Prabhu, maybe I've got this wrong, but in expansion of Sahadev Prabhu's question just now in your response, I mean, we see in the Bhagavatam and in many Vedic literatures, instances scattered by devotees, pure devotees of the Lord, undergoing suffering of sorts. Suffering externally, of course, internally they may not. But it's not that they, is my understanding incorrect? It's not that they don't undergo sufferings, it's just they are unaffected by such suffering. Isn't that the correct way? Because Kunti Maharani herself in her prayers asks for such sufferings so that such sufferings can allow her to continue to remember the Lord. So it's not that they don't undergo or suffer such sufferings, it's just that they are unaffected by that and they remain fully focused on Krishna's bhakti.
No, as long as they have this body, sometimes they may experience some suffering, but their suffering is no way interfering with their degree of Krishna consciousness. That is the main point. But in case of us, when we are into suffering, we suffer the pain. Definitely, it interferes with our Krishna consciousness. That's a kind of thing we need to understand. If there is a kind of an operation, something has to be done in the body. Sometimes, even if pure devotee would say, right here should go with the pain. So what? We should not become sentimental. Yes, but that is not definitely, affecting his Krishna consciousness. He is transcendent. That momentarily something may, but that is not disqualification for him to become a pure devotee of the Lord. It's not that if he did, so we should not think that, if he is undergoing some pain, experiencing some pain, means that is a disqualification for him to become a pure devotee. No, that is not a disqualification for him to become a pure devotee. He is already a pure. Anytime, anywhere, you can see his consciousness is very clean and clear. And sometimes I can tell you, those who are in a very high stage of consciousness, these pure devotees, they behave, sometimes general people, they see that they take them very cheap. They feel, he is like this, he's talking, he's behaving like this. That means, but I have seen, in my personal experience, I can tell you, I know there is a very highly elevated soul, and I have personally, met with him, I have spoken to him, and people who are surrounded by him, they take him like a mundane person. I am telling you my experience. And when I spoke to them, they say how they treat him like, why they accept him as a mundane person? Because he speaks, he forgets this, that. They say, Prabhu, believe me, I personally met this devotee. Wow, I was struck with wonder how he was speaking to me from Bhagavatam. I was really, Prabhu, I was totally kind of, succumbed. I said, wow, this is the consciousness. And this person is being, seen by people who are closely serving him like this. What is this? So sometimes, as I said, no, you need to see the consciousness of a pure devotee of the Lord. And that you cannot understand unless the pure devotee himself reveals himself or herself to you. Otherwise, you cannot know this. You will not know. People say, he's suffering, they may have their own opinion. You cannot understand. But definitely this is the thing that whatever the situation may be, their position, their consciousness is never affected. It's not nimisarda, even half the time which is required to blink an eye is nimisa, one nimis. Then ardha nimisa means the time required, even if you divide into two, half, that one nimisa, how much time is required to blink an eye, if you divide that time period into half, even for that fraction of a second, their mind is not away from Krishna. This is a pure devotee. And when they speak, they open their mouth, then only you can know. Pure devotees are not to be judged through their bodily situations, their external situations. Pure devotees must be seen through the ears, not through the eyes. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Can I just ask one point of logistics if there's no other questions from anyone?
Yeah.
Couple of things. Firstly, we're not quite sure what's going on with Hari Leela Das Prabhu. He takes the Bhagavatamrita Vichar class on Saturdays, and he said we were going to break off for
Who is taking?
Hari Leela Das. He took over from Vidwan Prabhu a few weeks back because I think Vidwan Chaitanya Prabhu couldn't continue with that particular class. So he took over some weeks ago, 2-3 months ago, but just before Gaur Punim, he said we'll break off for 2-3 weeks. And then he's not been responding to messages, and there's no messages as to whether the classes are continuing or what. So we haven't had sort of classes for 3, 4, 5 weeks now, for more than about 7-8 weeks.
Which canto you are in now?
Sorry?
Which canto?
This is the Bhagavatamrita.
Yeah. I mean to say, this is Brihad Bhagavatamrita, no?
Yes, Prabhu. So we're not quite sure what's going on there. If you could perhaps, I don't know who to message about it either. I've messaged him, but he's not responded. And similarly, I think they might, I'm not quite sure whether Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu has got health problems or not. He messaged a few weeks ago, but he hasn't restarted the Parampara Vaibhav for Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati on Thursdays either. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. That one, we haven't had a class for about 2 months now, I think. So I'm just wondering whether they're going to restart or whether there's any issues or what. They're all beautiful classes. I think those that are regulars really do look forward to those classes. I think Krishna Chandra Prabhu is a regular in that one as well, I think. And I think Subhadra Mataji is also a regular on that one.
Yeah.
So they're lovely classes. We just miss them very much. It would be nice to restart, but it would be nice to know what's going on at least, if the devotees are okay or not.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.